Good evening and welcome to the Buck Stops here and the ups and downs of the strained India-Pakistan relationship. Any hopes for a useful resumption of dialogue seem to have been dashed as Delhi and Islamabad trade statements challenging each other's agenda or conditions for the NSA-level talks that are expected on the 23rd without formally calling them off. In fact, both sides are challenging the other to have the guts to call off the talks. India says there's no question of talking on terror if Pakistan sticks to its insistence to meet separatist Hurriyat leaders from Kashmir. Pakistan rejects India's conditions and says it will not be dictated to as to whom to meet while in Delhi. Clearly, what happened in Ufa when the two prime ministers met on the sidelines of the SCO summit has stayed there. Whether or not Sartaj Aziz now comes to Delhi or not is possibly a case of splitting hairs, with the net result being once again a tennis match at deuce. Well, for more on what we can expect now, we have been told that Pakistan will be having a briefing tomorrow morning for accompanying media with Sartaj Aziz. But Nidhi Razdan joins us now. Nidhi, it's sort of a tragic comedy of Shakespearean proportions, and in what sort of this kind of takalluf, pehle aap, to cancel the talks. It's unprecedented for India and Pakistan to do this.
Well, we've seen plenty of drama between the two countries, Maya, over the years while covering this story, but this really has to be something that none of us have seen before. A whole 2 days where we've seen accusations, counter-accusations, and today was a day of statements and counter-statements. It began with India in the morning issuing a statement saying that it would advise Sartaj Aziz not to meet the separatists when he comes to India, making it clear that any such meeting would not be acceptable. Also saying that they had asked Pakistan for the agenda of the talks and was still awaiting a response. Then you had the Pakistan Foreign Office this afternoon issuing a strong statement saying that they reject the Indian government's advice, how the Pakistani leadership had met the Hurriyat every time it came to India, and that they would not accept any preconditions for talks. In fact, Pakistani officials saying that they're not going to be dictated to by India about what they should do, who they should meet when they are here. And now a very strong statement from the Indian government this evening where essentially India has said that there has been a sharp increase in cross-border incidents and unprovoked firings from Pakistan, that the unilateral imposition of new conditions and a distortion of the agreed agenda cannot be the basis for going forward, and that the force that compels Pakistan to disregard agreements reached by the two elected leaders, asking what that force is, that's a hint to the Pakistani army, and basically saying that the UFA understanding was only on terrorism, and questioning the agenda, saying that Pakistan had shifted the goalposts because the Pakistani government today said it would also talk about Jammu and Kashmir and other issues, which was not part of the UFA joint statement. So we are told by Indian officials that while India has made this strong statement today, it hasn't actually formally called off these talks, and the ball has been thrown back in Pakistan's court about whether or not it wants to continue. Pakistani officials say, why should we call off the talks? We haven't heard anything officially from India, and so you have a briefing tomorrow morning for the media that's supposed to accompany Sartaj Aziz to India on Sunday. And whether they officially call off the talks there or they throw back the ball in India's court is anybody's guess. But the way I see it, this dialogue is highly unlikely to happen, but what could happen is really a lot of fireworks and drama in this coming weekend.
Right, Nidhi, thanks very much. As you pointed out, a lot of fireworks and drama this coming weekend. No side really ready to call off those talks, even though the intention for dialogue seems highly questionable at this point in time. Well, joining me to take this discussion forward, we're being joined by a former diplomat, Vivek Karchu, from the BJP, Sudhanshu Trivedi joining us, from the Congress, Sanjay Jha, the PDP, we have Mehboob Beg joining us from Srinagar, also from Srinagar, commentator Siddiq Wahid. In the studio, we have senior journalist Ashok Malik joining us as well, and we're hoping to be joined shortly from Pakistan by the former Air Vice Marshal Shahzad Chaudhry from Islamabad on this. Sudhanshu Trivedi, I want to actually open with asking you the question, why is the government not calling off the talks clearly, given Pakistan's insistence on going ahead with the Hurriyat meetings?
As far as our government and our party's stand is concerned, we are quite clear that we are there for an honest dialogue, but not at the cost of our national security, integrity and other related aspects. If you look at the UFA agreement, it was clearly, categorically defined the topics of discussion and the level of discussion. I would like to ask, it was also mentioning that DGMO level talks will be there and BSF and Pakistani Rangers talks will be there. Definitely they can only discuss the conflict at the border itself, not the general national security. Strictly exactly on the same line, the NSA level talk can only discuss the terrorism and the national security aspect. They cannot discuss the political aspect. We are not afraid of discussing Kashmir. But whenever the topic will come, an appropriate atmosphere will be there, we will be there to discuss. But this is a political issue which can only be discussed either at the foreign secretary level or at the foreign minister level or above.
Okay.
So if Pakistan wants to unnecessarily involve Hurriyat leaders, which in our opinion are having no locus standi in the strict terrorism related talks, then definitely it is in violation with what they have agreed in UFA.
Okay, all right.
The reason is quite clear. Everybody understands the internal complexities of the Pakistan.
Okay, Mr. Trivedi, before we carry on, let's just bring in Shahzad Chaudhary from Islamabad as well for a view from Pakistan as we take this discussion forward. Sir, you know, we're seeing both Delhi and Islamabad tossing the ball back and forth from each other's courts, neither side really willing to say, we're not really interested in talking, although that seems to be the message from what we've heard. Pakistan knows what Delhi's position has been on a meeting with the Hurriyat. The Foreign Secretary talks were called off last year for the same reason. Why would there be such insistence from Islamabad to meet the Hurriyat this time?
Yeah, Maya, thank you very much. I think the most promising thing at this moment is that neither side has actually cancelled the talks. They, I think, both hope to still go ahead with the talks because it's essential given the environment that in which both countries are currently embroiled. There has to be a sense of hope and promise and therefore a possibility that the two sides can actually begin to talk about talks and begin to talk about issues which have belabored us. Now, having said that, let me suggest to you that regardless of the fact that the last time the Foreign Secretary's talks were called off, and I think there's a very clear stance taken by Pakistan that meeting up with the Hurriyat has been something that has been going on forever, ever since any Pakistani dignitary has gone to India, they've been able to meet up with them. Sometime it hasn't been done, but mostly it has been done. And so therefore, Pakistan does not take this as a condition for any talks that must go on between India and Pakistan. Secondly, on the UFA, I fully agree with your participant that this particular talk or this phase of talks was meant to be only related to terrorism, and hopefully more things could have been discussed. But having said that, how does it mean that if Sartaj Aziz ends up meeting the Hurriyat, that the Hurriyat is actually going to brief him on terrorism? The terrorism with the NSA of India is going to be an entirely different subject. So let that take place in terms of the bilateral formal talks. What is wrong with, why is India so insecure about
why is India so
Sartaj Aziz as a dignitary meeting up with the Hurriyat? So that is not understandable. That is not understandable in Pakistan today.
Okay, all right, fair question. I want to bring in Siddiq Wahid as well from Srinagar on this. Siddiq, many would say that perhaps the Hurriyat has never enjoyed this kind of relevance and limelight as it does right now.
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know what that means, Maya. I mean, that the Hurriyat has enjoyed. But I must say the view from Kashmir that I take is somewhat of amusement that two countries should be, you know, sort of so disoriented about something so simple. I really don't obviously we are not privy to what is behind the scenes and what is playing into this, but it certainly seems more than meets the eye, as far as I can tell, you know. And I think this kind of sort of quibbling and so forth, I don't know. I don't know whether it is quibbling or whether it is something real that is behind this, but it seems much ado, actually, to quote Shakespeare.
About nothing, well, quoting Shakespeare, tragic comedy, as we said. Vivek Karchu, as a former diplomat who's worked extensively with Pakistan, who's also sort of been involved in several rounds of discussion, bilateral dialogue, what do you make of what's going on today? These statements going back and forth between foreign ministries, neither side really saying they want to call off the talks, but challenging the other side to do so. What do you make of this?
Look, the diplomacy of it I'll come to, but on one simple thing I want to stress that this is not, the Hurriyat matter is not much ado about nothing. It's a question of principle. India had earlier a rather laissez-faire attitude towards these separatists meeting Pakistani representatives, meeting Pakistani leaders when they came to India. The object of these meetings was obviously to project them as some kind of a element which was necessary to be consulted for the resolution of the J&K issue. Now, under Simla, this has to be between the two governments. No other person or party comes in. Now, therefore, when Mr. Modi emphasized that whatever may have happened in the past, the Pakistani leaders and Pakistani representatives should not try to project the Hurriyat as the true representatives of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. In any case, they have no role or locus in this issue. As a good guess, our Pakistani friends should have accepted that. After all, no country allows separatists to meet with foreign interlocutors, especially try to arrogate to themselves a kind of a role which simply isn't there.
Okay.
But our Pakistani friends, for reasons best known to them, keep insisting. Now, that's one aspect.
Right.
The second aspect is that perhaps Delhi should have been absolutely categorical on this.
Right.
At a much earlier stage, that if you want, you can issue any invitation you want, but it rests with us, with India, to allow you to meet them or not. And that we'll exercise that option when we think it necessary.
Okay.
There, I think, there was a little faltering, and perhaps that is what encouraged our Pakistani friends. But on principle, what Pakistan is demanding is absolutely wrong.
Okay, Ashok Malik, come in on this. We've been very clear, as in Delhi has been very clear on the issue of the Hurriyat meetings. We saw what happened with the Foreign Secretary talks. Vivek Karju making the point that it's not much ado about nothing. This has been a principled position that Delhi has taken. It's the same point Sudhanshu Trivedi has also made. But I want to ask you, at the end of the day, at UFA, the two prime ministers had come together, they had broken months of an impasse and made the first gingerly steps towards a resumption of dialogue. Why then go through the motions to come to this point?
See, the briefings coming out of UFA from the Indian side and the Pakistani side after UFA got over were remarkably different. The Indian understanding was that at UFA, the two prime ministers agreed privately and acknowledged that this was not a time for some blockbuster political moves. The moment wasn't there. However, some resumption of dialogue was necessary. So at UFA, the NSAs, it was agreed the NSAs would discuss terrorism. And obviously, if they sit for 7 or 8 hours to discuss terrorism formally, informally other subjects may come up, though the formal briefing after the meeting would only be on terrorism,
right,
obviously. And following that, there would probably be another meeting in 2 months and so on and so forth, and both sides were testing the waters. When Nawaz Sharif went back to Pakistan, there was obviously a turmoil in Pakistan because Jammu and Kashmir was not mentioned in the joint statement, and he seemed to, or Sattar Jadid seemed to suggest that what was being resumed was actually the composite dialogue by another name, which was not the Indian understanding. Perhaps the Indian understanding should have been communicated much more categorically, as Mr. Karju has suggested, and much earlier to the Indian people, to the public as well as to the public in Pakistan. That is a valid point. Maybe the communication did falter. But I think the Indian government's understanding was always there that this was going to be talks about terrorism and nothing more. Second, coming to Hurriyat. Last year, the Modi government set a red line saying you can't talk to Hurriyat and then expect a bilateral conversation.
Right, fair enough.
Now, you could argue this was an unrealistic red line, you could argue it was an unnecessary deadline. There are various points of view. The program before this on NTV had other people saying this was not necessary. But the fact is, the government of the day with the mandate drew that red line.
But when they
just
made
one second. Now what Pakistan is suggesting is a red line of its own. It's saying,
right,
we will only talk to you if you allow us to talk to
the Hurriyat. Yeah.
Now, if these talks get called off, and I hope they don't,
right,
then what happens in 3 or 4 or 5 months? Does Pakistan never talk to India unless you talk to Hurriyat?
Shehzad Chaudhary, come in on that, because it's true. In a sense, what Ashok Malik is saying, that, you know, when India drew a red line at the foreign secretary level talks, now Pakistan is saying, on the one hand, they will not be dictated to by India, they will not accept conditions, and they will meet whoever they want on Indian soil. India sees that as a condition at the end of the day.
Yeah, you know, you do not define red lines unilaterally on your own, especially on a matter which is bilateral in nature, which has two stakeholders about an area which is disputed and internationally acknowledged as such. Look what's happened ever since Sufa, and for that matter for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The activation of the LOC and the working boundary, what has that done? That has brought Kashmir back into the focus. What do you do when you say that you will not meet Hurriyat? Hurriyat comes into focus. When you, what do you do when the two nuclear nations decide not to talk to each other because you will not let you talk to Kashmiris?
Why are you getting the nuclear aspect in this, Shehzad?
Yeah.
Are a factor. Kashmiris are a factor which are coming to limelight. You have, as per your policy, as I understand your policy, you wanted the Kashmiris to be actually, left behind in terms of their prominence. And here we are, because of the bankruptcy of the policy, actually placing Kashmiris right in the middle of the frame and letting the entire world have a look at it. So just look back at the way that you have actually handled this entire area. Cowing down the other side is impossible. It is out. The fact that the Pakistanis have been talking to Hurriyat forever, and they remain very. If they're not a factor, they have no locus standi. Why worry so much about them?
Okay,
What is your worry? Why are you bothered?